Welcome back to the show. We are with Andy Tookey, the man behind Give Life, which is this big lobby group with respect to organ donor issues in New Zealand. Now, one of the most contentious organ donor issues would have to be the right of veto and the fact that, families can override the wishes of a loved one. You want this changed?
Yeah, there was an audit done in 2001-2002 in intensive care. It's the only audit that's been done on organ donors, and it showed there was 104 potential donors in intensive care. Out of that, 31 families said no, and the doctors did not ask another 35 families. So that's potential 66 donors lost. One donor can save the lives of up to 10 people. The figures are 600 plus people could have benefited. And there's two parts to this, autonomy and raising the organ donor rate. I mean, my view is, and a view shared by many, obviously by the polls that have been going around, is, why should my long-lost cousin I haven't seen for 10 years be able to overturn my wish to be an organ donor?
Yeah. Do you think Parliament are receptive to that?
I don't know if Parliament are. The government have put out a counter bill which would allow even more people, even more veto powers than under the current law. So I'm obviously against that. But Jackie Blue MP, as a National Party list MP, she sponsored a private member's bill on my behalf and has put forward that people cannot overturn your wish to be an organ donor.
So you'd desperately like to see that become the law?
Yeah, I'm hoping that it'll get passed into legislation. We had a good vote in the first two readings in Parliament. There was only one party who abstained from the vote. They didn't even vote against it. They just abstained from the vote, which was, of course, the Maori Party. Everyone else was in support of it.
What about the cultural issues, and those sensitivities that surround issues like, human tissue? What do you say to those objectors to your cause?
Well, there's quite a few people that say they don't wish to be organ donors, and I respect that. I'm not saying everyone should be an organ donor. I'm saying that if somebody decides to be one, then nobody should overturn that wish either. And likewise, if you don't wish to be an organ donor, that wish shouldn't be overturned. But I do have a problem with people saying they will accept organs, but they won't give them.
Yeah. Now, let's suppose I was a live donor and I allow someone to take one of my kidneys. Later in life, if I needed a transplant, given my act of great generosity, should I get priority treatment?
I would say yes, and you've just saved the government an awful lot of money. You've saved somebody's life by donating one of your kidneys. And then you're running on one kidney. Yeah, you should, if you should have problems on that. Unfortunately, you don't. Under the current system, you would go on the waiting list as the same criteria as anybody else. And I don't think that's fair. It's certainly not an incentive to increase the live organ donor rate.
Yeah. Is that idea being looked at the Select Committee?
That's something that I've been pushing for. It's not really gained much traction at the moment. Another thing that I've suggested is that they should pay the funeral costs of organ donors, because as many people would perhaps sign up as an organ donor if they felt it took some of the financial burden off their family after their death, and it's the least the government could do, considering how much money that donor has saved the country to pay the cost of the funeral.
Yes. Well, without wanting to appear insensitive, can I suggest that if the government were to pay the funeral costs, it may also stop the family from overriding the wishes of the loved one?
Money sometimes wins over other decisions, yes.
Yes. So what's the short-term outlook, Andy? How hopeful are you that there are going to be changes?
I'm hopeful, very hopeful, that there's going to be changes, and people really need to let their MPs know what their feelings are on the matter, because they're the ones who will be voting on it at the third stage, as should there be a legally binding register, or should family be able to still veto your wishes. And MPs, if it comes to a conscience vote, need to know from the public what their feelings are.
Yeah. All right. Now, just to repeat Andy's website, and of course Andy is based in Christchurch. If you have access to the internet, it's givelife.org.nz. You can email Andy at givelife.org.nz. And if you're ever needing a motel to stay in Christchurch, Andy of course runs Addington Motels. You're a very busy man. Thank you very much for joining us, and all the very best for your campaign.
Thanks, Mike.
Andy Tookey. Coming up shortly, we'll change tack dramatically to give you some timely tips on the long winter ahead and how to survive it with Denise Saunders, the First Lady of Style in Christchurch. Do stay with us.
On Rock's Country this week, we're going to be talking to Dennis Carter.